Most travel itineraries for Vietnam are just a list of tourist traps. In this 3-week Vietnam itinerary, you'll discover where to go instead for a much better experience. We're going to start the perfect north to south Vietnam itinerary with 3 days in Hanoi. Most people make a big mistake before even setting foot in Hanoi, and that mistake is booking a hotel in the Old Quarter. Almost everything in the Old Quarter is set up purely for tourists. We ended up staying at a wonderful homestay in the locals' neighborhood of Pho Huay. In this neighborhood, we found great banh mi's, authentic restaurants, and what we think is the best egg coffee in all of Hanoi. While the Old Quarter is extremely touristy, it's still the first place that I suggest you visit because it is an iconic part of Hanoi, along with the French Quarter. In the Old Quarter, spend your time exploring the narrow streets filled with the traditional tall and skinny Vietnamese houses. Next, continue on to the French Quarter, where you can admire the architecture from when Vietnam was a French colony, such as the Hanoi Opera House, Trung Chen Plaza, and St. Joseph's Cathedral. If you want a glimpse into Hanoi's dark past, you can also visit the Ho Lo prison. After you're done exploring, take a stroll around Hoan Kiem Lake and visit Nop Son Temple. Located in the middle of the lake, it's a Confucius shrine that also has the preserved bodies of the giant turtles that used to live in the lake. Day 2 is going to be a day trip from Hanoi. But before we get into it, we need to have a chat about Halong Bay and why you should actually avoid this iconic site. Halong Bay is one of the most famous areas of Vietnam, with emerald water and limestone karst islands. But it's also become extremely over-touristed and overdeveloped. What used to be a beautiful natural landscape has turned into a mess of hundreds of boats taking tourists for day trips. Add to that the obvious pollution from intense fish farming, and this area is not what it used to be. I spent years as an award-winning travel agent, and my clients would ask me about the best places to visit. Halong Bay is one of those places that I would have recommended my clients to skip. But if your FOMO is just too strong, which I do understand, then I would book a 1-day day tour instead from Hanoi that visits the nearby Lan Ha Bay. While Lan Ha Bay is still touristy, you won't be surrounded by hundreds of other boats and have to fight the crowds all visiting the same couple of tourist stops like you would in Halong Bay. If you want to see incredible nature but without the tourist traps, then you're gonna love Halong Bay on land, which we're visiting on day 8. Let's start your last day in Hanoi by visiting Ho Chi Minh's mausoleum, which houses the preserved body of Ho Chi Minh. The mausoleum is only open for a few hours every morning, so this will need to be your first stop. At the same time, you can also visit the last home of Ho Chi Minh and see how he lived. Next up is a visit to the Tran Quoc Pagoda, which dates back almost 1500 years, and the Buddhist temple that surrounds it. Located on a small island in the West Lake, this temple is filled with a huge amount of history and important symbolism. I've saved my absolute favorite for last, which is the Temple of Literature. This temple has an incredible history dating back almost 1,000 years. It was first founded in 1070 as a temple dedicated to Confucius, before it became the first national university of Vietnam. After a day of exploring, spend your evening at the infamous Train Street. Situated along a stretch of the railway that cuts through the Old Quarter, this street has become one of the main tourist attractions in Hanoi. It's a crazy experience to be drinking a beer or egg coffee and have a train rush past you less than a foot from where you're sitting. Make sure to check the train schedule ahead of time with staff at a cafe along the street. Next, we're heading to the iconic mountains of Sapa for 2 full days of exploring. The best way to get to Sapa is by taking a VIP or sleeper bus from Hanoi. Chances are you'll arrive in Sapa in the late afternoon. So for your first night, I would just take it easy and do a little wandering whilst grabbing some dinner in Sapa town. For your first full day in Sapa, I recommend exploring the remote villages and hikes that are close to the town. Sapa is the trekking capital of Vietnam, and you'll quickly discover that every man, woman, child, and dog in Sapa wants to sell you a trekking tour. Don't do it. The vast majority of tours here are a complete waste of money. We saw dozens of groups trudging along the side of the main paved road behind a guide and looking absolutely miserable just to reach the viewpoints and villages. But don't worry, there is a better way to explore Sapa. Instead of trudging along the main road breathing in exhaust fumes for hours, rent a scooter or a mountain bike instead. If you're traveling as a family or you're not comfortable on a scooter, you can also hire a private minibus with a driver for the day. It's almost the same cost as a group tour, but it'll allow you to have complete flexibility over your day. By taking your own wheels, you can zip past those trekking groups in minutes to easily reach the remote ethnic villages and high-altitude rice terraces. This is exactly why we built our custom Vietnam map. We've pinned the specific remote villages and viewpoints around Sapa so that you can design your own tour. Our Vietnam travel guide and map also features over 100 curated locations across Vietnam, including the most popular sites and the hidden gems that most tourists end up skipping. You'll find our personal tips in each map pin. This 3-week itinerary, along with 1- and 2-week options, are also included. Download the map directly into the Google Maps app to find the best spots at the click of a button. The link in the description below, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. For your last full day in Sapa, you can visit Fansipan Mountain, which at 3,147 meters is the tallest mountain in all of Vietnam. A little fun fact is that the Fansipan gondola held 2 Guinness World Records when it was first built. The weather can be temperamental at the top, and unfortunately, there's no guarantee that you won't end up in a cloud. In general, it's best to visit on a sunny, cloudless day, as that seems to matter more than the time of day for getting the clear views. If you still have a good amount of the day left, you could also explore some of the other viewpoints around Sapa. The rest of the day can be spent exploring the narrow streets of Sapa town and trying unique food like the local chestnut cake. The next stop on our north to south Vietnam itinerary is one of our favorite places in all of Vietnam, with some of the most beautiful landscapes in the entire country. This incredible place is Ninh Binh, a small town a few hours south of Hanoi. We'll be spending 3 full days here. Once again, the best way to get there is by taking a bus, and as long as you're not too tall, you can take a sleeper bus and arrive fully rested. For your first full day in Ninh Binh, I recommend visiting Trang An. This UNESCO heritage site is often referred to as Halong Bay on land, but I would actually go further and say that this area is both prettier and better to visit than Halong Bay. Instead of loud ships, you're guided around the Trang An landscape in a rowboat. Because the Trang An Landscape Complex is a protected nature area, all the tours are run and organized by the government. This limits the crowd, and it means that everything is neatly organized with no hawkers trying to sell you souvenirs. There are 3 routes to choose from, and you really can't go wrong with either one. After a relaxing time spent exploring the ancient temples and stunning scenery in Trang An, it's time to get your heart pumping by climbing the 500 steps to the top of Hang Mua Mountain. The views of the surrounding landscape from the top are fantastic. Don't forget to spend some time taking advantage of all the great photo opportunities at the base of the mountains, with the lily ponds and rice fields set against the towering limestone mountains. Your next day in Ninh Binh is all about exploration. If you stay in the Hoa Lu area, you are perfectly positioned to explore the beautiful landscape that surrounds this town. We had a great time driving our scooter around and discovering small local temples and beautiful scenic spots. The distances aren't huge, so you can also rent a bicycle to explore the area. If you purchase our custom map, you'll be able to find some of the best hidden gems to visit in Ninh Binh. You can also explore the outside of the ancient capital of Hoa Lu and take a picture of the famous gate. It's not worth paying to enter, as there isn't much to see on the inside, and the street vendors are extremely pushy. For your last day in Ninh Binh, I recommend visiting the Bai Ding and Bic Dong pagodas. The Bai Ding pagoda is set in a huge landscape with several temples and the largest bronze Buddha statue in all of Vietnam. It's an important Buddhist site with the ancient pagoda dating back almost 1,000 years. The Bic Dong pagoda is a lot smaller, but it feels like you're discovering a hidden relic. The original pagoda was built in 1428, but was then forgotten about until it was rediscovered by 2 Buddhist monks in 1705. Set in a forest against the limestone mountain, you can easily imagine how overgrown the pagoda was when it was rediscovered. Now that you've explored some of the key places in the north of Vietnam, we're going to travel to the coastal cities of Da Nang and Hoi An, which are located in the center of the country. If you're backpacking Vietnam on a budget, you can take a sleeper bus all the way to Da Nang, but I think it's best to take the bus back to Hanoi in order to catch a flight. Da Nang has become really popular with digital nomads due to its coastal location and affordable cost of living. We are going to spend 2 full days exploring the city and surrounding areas. You'll Your first activity in Da Nang is going to be a visit to Bana Hills in order to see the famous Golden Hand Bridge and to explore the recreated village and theme park at the top. The cable car to the top offers some impressive views. You can book tickets ahead of time via the link below so you don't have to wait in line. A fun fact is that Bana Hills was originally a resort town built by the French in 1919. Eventually it was abandoned and the Sunworld Group, who also developed Fansipan in Sapa, took it over and made it into a tourist attraction again. Bana Hills is very touristy and crowded, but people generally still find it a worthwhile visit. But if you have a low tolerance for crowded and touristy activities, or you're on a tight budget, then you can give this one a miss. Before I get into some of the best ways to spend the rest of your day, make sure you subscribe for more no-nonsense tips that'll help you plan your own grand adventure. If you have time left in your day, you can relax on Mai Kee Beach before heading into the city in order to watch the Dragon Bridge Fire and Water Show. It's free to view, and you'll find lots of street food vendors along the river. Just a heads up though, the show only happens on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. On your second day at Da Nang, you're heading to the culturally rich Marble Mountains. You'll get to explore multiple caves, some with temples inside, ancient Buddhist pagodas, and you'll enjoy some breathtaking views. Make sure to dedicate at least 2 hours to exploring the Marble Mountains. Your next stop is the Chua Ling Pagoda. This impressive site is fairly new, having been completed in 2010. But the location has been spiritually important for a very long time. According to legend, a Buddha statue washed up on shore in this exact location. To honor the event, the villagers built a small shrine, and once the shrine was completed, the seas calmed and the fishing grounds improved. The new impressive Lady Buddha statue was built on the site of the original shrine, and it faces out to sea in order to watch over the fishermen. The next day, we're heading an hour south to a remarkably well-preserved ancient trading port that once served as a vital hub for Japanese, Chinese, and Western merchant ships. Today, Hoi An is a UNESCO World Heritage Site where you can enjoy unique dishes, iconic yellow alleyways, and glowing silk lanterns. We're going to spend 4 full days in Hoi An to truly explore everything that it has to offer, including a day trip. For your first day in Hoi An, I recommend exploring the Old Town, which is one of the few in Vietnam that has managed to preserve its charm and not be replaced with concrete blocks. Make sure you don't miss the beautiful and iconic Japanese covered bridge. Once you've built up an appetite, try some of the local dishes that are unique to Hoi An, such as Khao Lao. Your second day is a chance to explore the Old Town a little bit more and do some souvenir shopping. Whether you're looking for a 100% genuine Patagonia t-shirt, or you want to have some clothes tailor-made, you'll find a multitude of shops to choose from in the Old Town. You can also take a lantern making workshop where you'll get to create your own lantern. My wife actually enjoyed this so much that she made us go twice. Even if you have the crafting talent of a 3-year-old, like myself, the staff are happy to help you and fix your mistakes, so you still end up with a pretty lantern to take back home. In the evening, you can wander the night market, which, although quite touristy, is still fun to wander around. You can also take a lantern boat ride along the river or buy a small lantern from the numerous vendors so that you can watch it float down the river. Just make sure you agree on a price before getting into the boat. The river at night also makes for some great nighttime photo opportunities. If you have any questions about visiting Vietnam, let me know in the comments and I'll try to answer every single one. Today, you'll be taking a day trip to explore the numerous Hindu temples and monuments of the incredible UNESCO site, Mai Son Sanctuary. With a history spanning from the 4th to the 13th centuries, Mai Son Sanctuary served as the spiritual and political capital of the Champa Kingdom. It's also been referred to as the Angkor Wat of Vietnam for its importance in showcasing this part of Vietnamese history. Aside from its historical importance, the beautiful natural location at the source of the Tu Bon River, surrounded by forest and mountains, is equally impressive. Mai Son Sanctuary is unique for having retained its Hindu faith, even as Buddhism swept through the rest of Vietnam. For your last day in Hoi An, it's time to get your swimsuit on and relax on An Bang Beach. This beach stretches almost all the way to Da Nang, so you're sure to find a spot for yourself. There's also plenty of trendy cafes and restaurants where you can enjoy a break from the sun. Another option for this day is to go on a coconut basket boat tour. On the tour, a guide will row you through the coconut forest in a coconut basket boat and onto the Tu Bon River. They also put on a spinning boat show. Just don't be fooled by the pretty pictures. This activity is a complete tourist trap. They blast music very loudly the entire time. It's extremely crowded with a ton of boats all there at the same time. And lastly, the guides are extremely pushy when it comes to demanding tips. If you're sensitive to that, this is an easy activity to skip. Your last activity in Hoi An is exploring the beautiful rice fields that surround the town. It's best to take a scooter or a bicycle so you can explore the whole area. This area is particularly pretty around sunset, and it makes for some excellent photos. We've marked a great area for sunset photos in our custom map. Next, we're flying south to the commercial heart of Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, or as the locals still call it, Saigon. We're going to spend 3 full days here, including a day trip. Now that we're in southern Vietnam, you'll notice that the weather has gotten warmer and that the food culture has changed a bit as well. For example, the banh mi that most of us are familiar with, loaded with vegetables and cilantro, was introduced to the West by Vietnamese war refugees who came from the south. Depending on when you arrive into Ho Chi Minh City, you can take it easy and explore the different districts of the city, whilst enjoying the numerous cafes and street food. Let's start your first full day in Ho Chi Minh City by exploring the Independence Palace. The final end to the Vietnamese War is often considered to have happened when a North Vietnamese army tank drove through the main gate of the Independence Palace. The palace serves as a time capsule from its era, with all the original furnishings and fittings left intact. Next is a visit to the War Remnants Museum, which not only houses a large display of military equipment from the Vietnam War, including tanks and planes, but it also has a lot of photographs and information that showcases the consequences of the Vietnam War, with some pretty graphic photos. We're all done with museums for today, and it's time to head to nearby Saigon Skydeck in order to watch the sunset over the city and see the city lights turn on as the night rolls in. If you want to watch the sunset from the tallest building in Vietnam instead, then you'll need to take a grab or a bus and head to Landmark 81. It's not as conveniently located as the Saigon Skydeck, but you'll be rewarded with views from the observation deck at a height of 383 meters. Once you've filled up your phone with pictures of the skyline, it's time to head to the Nui Hui walking street. This street was originally a grand canal, until the French covered it and built the boulevard that we see today. The street is lined with grand French buildings that are now expensive hotels and department stores. But you'll still find plenty of affordable cafes, and at night the street comes alive, especially on the weekend when the whole street is closed to motor vehicles. As you walk away from the river, you can't help but see the impressive city hall that was built by the French. It's wonderfully lit up at night, and it's a backdrop that wouldn't be out of place in a European capital. Hopefully you didn't stay out too late, because today we're taking a day trip to the Mekong Delta and the Cu Chi tunnels. The easiest way to see these places is to book a tour that combines both and includes a transfer from and to Ho Chi Minh City. Check out the link in the description for some tour options. The Cu Chi tunnels are fascinating to see as they're part of the huge tunnel system that allowed the Viet Cong to avoid detection as they snuck behind enemy lines. The tunnels that you get to visit have been made wider and taller to accommodate tourists who are a fair bit larger than the average Viet Cong soldier was. But that doesn't stop the tunnels from being a sobering experience when you reflect on the fact that soldiers would live in these tunnels for very long periods of time. On to the Mekong Delta part of your tour. The highlight here is the sampan boat ride through the narrow canals, including a stop in a local village where you can see how little life has changed for the people that rely on the Delta for their livelihood. For your final day in Ho Chi Minh City, we're heading to District 1 to visit 4 iconic spots in one walking loop. We'll start the day at the Saigon post office. Even if you're not mailing a postcard, the 19th century French architecture, both outside and inside, is really impressive, and it feels more like a grand European train station than a post office. Right next door is Book Street, which is one of the oldest streets in Ho Chi Minh City. You'll find plenty of cute bookshops along this street, selling both new and old books. Book Street has also become really popular with influencers, although not to buy and read books, but to take pictures with the bookshops in the background. Just steps away is the Notre Dame Cathedral. If you're visiting before 2027, you will be disappointed, as the cathedral is currently covered in scaffolding whilst extensive restoration work takes place. Finally, walk 15 minutes south to Ben Thang Market, which is one of the oldest and most famous markets in Ho Chi Minh City. Although this is the commercial heart of the city, It's incredibly chaotic, and the vendors here are some of the pushiest in Vietnam. So put on a big smile and be ready to bargain hard. Now that you've discovered some of the best things to do in Vietnam, there's a few key travel tips that you need to know before visiting. The visa requirements for Vietnam are fairly easy. Most nationalities require an e-visa in order to enter Vietnam. This has to be done online before you travel. Make sure you complete it well ahead of time and only use the official government site that I've linked below. Next, avoid taxis like the plague in Vietnam, unless you like being scammed. The three most common taxi scams in Vietnam are the broken meter scam, the scenic route scam, and lastly, the note switching scam. Just download the Grab app before you leave home and use it instead of taxis. In terms of transport, the VIP buses in Vietnam are generally quite luxurious with large reclining seats. If you're traveling longer distances, you can also opt for a sleeper bus so that you can stretch out and take a nap. If you're over 5'7", don't expect to be able to stretch out fully on the sleeper bus. If you're backpacking Vietnam on a budget, then the sleeper buses are a great option. Having travel insurance for Vietnam is absolutely critical. If you're planning on renting a scooter without a motorcycle license and an IDP, make sure you're 100% sure that your medical insurance will cover you. We use Genki Health Insurance as they provide full coverage for our nomadic lifestyle. The best time of year to visit Vietnam will vary depending on whether you're in the south or the north of the country. In general, the summer months will be hot and humid, with a lot of rain in the south. Peak season for the whole country is between November to March. You can find this complete 3-week Vietnam itinerary along with a 1 and 2 week option in our custom travel guide and map. Now that you have the perfect itinerary, you need to know how to avoid the most common scams in Vietnam. Watch this video next so you don't lose money before you've even landed.